There's something happening in your mind right now that you're not fully aware of. And it's been shaping your choices, your reactions, and the people you're drawn to probably for most of your life. Have you ever found yourself inexplicably drawn to someone who treats you poorly, only to wonder later why you let them stay in your life? There's a name for this, a very old one, and what you're about to learn might change how you look at yourself and at other people for the rest of your life. Why do we often find ourselves trapped in relationships that don't serve us? You're in traffic and someone cuts you off without a signal. For a split second, something inside you wants them to crash. Or perhaps you keep finding yourself attracted to people who treat you poorly. They're charming and exciting on some level, yet they leave you feeling drained or worse than before you met them. You've been in a job for years where every week feels like a cycle of frustration and exhaustion. Your boss is demanding but doesn't acknowledge your hard work. In quiet moments, maybe while brushing your teeth or staring out at the rain, a feeling washes over you that seems disconnected from anything happening around you. It's like an undercurrent pulling you in different directions than what you usually want. What's this sensation, and why does it feel so powerful? You're at a friend's wedding and everyone seems happy except you. You don't fit in with the laughter and joy. Instead, you feel isolated and melancholic. You've made a decision about something important, like moving or quitting a job, and felt certain it was the right choice until the moment you told someone else, and then suddenly doubted yourself completely. And if you pay close attention, you'll see these moments aren't random occurrences, but part of a larger pattern in your life. So what is this thing inside us? This quiet second self that keeps making choices we don't remember making. This thing inside us, this quiet second self, is like a shadow following our every step, whispering doubts and driving decisions we never intended to make. It's as if there's an invisible thread pulling us towards experiences that challenge our sense of security and comfort. Consider the moment you're walking down a crowded street and suddenly find yourself drawn to a poster on the wall with a message that speaks directly to your insecurities, despite having no plan or intention to notice it in advance. Why do certain situations feel like triggers, making us question our core beliefs and choices? It's as if there's a deeper layer of consciousness at work, reacting to life's stimuli with its own form of intelligence. We are wired to seek out what we fear most because it compels us to confront these fears and ultimately overcome them. In essence, this shadow self is trying to protect us by pushing us into growth zones where we can evolve past our limitations. Think of it as a guardian angel with scars from its own battles, guiding us through the dark alleyways of our subconscious. Why do certain situations feel like triggers, making us question our core beliefs and choices? It's as if there's a deeper layer of consciousness at work, reacting to life's stimuli with its own form of intelligence. We are wired to seek out what we fear most because it compels us to confront these fears and ultimately overcome them. So when you find yourself caught between conflicting desires and fears, try not to view it as an obstacle, but rather as another opportunity for self-reflection and growth. Embrace these challenges as they come because within them lies the potential to discover new facets of your personality and expand your understanding of what love and freedom truly mean to you. As you continue on this journey of introspection, recognize that every encounter with your shadow self is a step towards becoming more whole and aligned with who you are meant to be. This process isn't always easy or comfortable, but it's an essential part of living a meaningful life filled with authenticity and purpose. This thing inside us has a name. Carl Jung identified it as the shadow, that hidden part of ourselves we'd rather not acknowledge. It's remarkable how such an ancient concept still resonates with our modern struggles, revealing just how timeless and universal this idea is. Jung's work emerged in early 20th century Europe, a time when psychology was blossoming from its philosophical roots into a scientific discipline. His discovery of the shadow wasn't merely academic. It felt like an earthquake that altered the landscape of understanding human nature. People were beginning to realize that what we perceive as our true self is often just a facade. To explain this concept simply, imagine your personality as an iceberg floating in water. The part above the surface is who you present to the world, polite, kind, and generally agreeable. However, beneath the waves lies the shadow, dark, untamed, and full of repressed desires, fears, and anger. This metaphor helps us grasp that our true self exists in its entirety, both the light and the dark. Take a moment to recall the road rage you experienced earlier today. In that brief eruption, you may have felt like an entirely different person. That's because for a fleeting moment, your shadow surfaced, those hidden parts of yourself where aggression and impulsivity reign supreme, far from the controlled persona we usually show others. Jung called this phenomenon the split personality, or what he later termed the persona, which refers to the mask we wear in social situations. The persona is like a carefully curated image designed for public consumption. It's polished and put together, but often lacks depth compared to our true self below the surface. But why can't we see this shadow within ourselves? It's akin to trying to hold up a mirror directly into your own eyes, impossible without external assistance. Think of consciousness as a lamp in a dark room. While illuminating everything around it, the lamp itself remains unseen. Similarly, our conscious mind is constantly reflecting light outward, but struggles to perceive its hidden shadow. How do we reconcile this dichotomy? How can something so deeply intertwined with us remain concealed from awareness? But naming it isn't enough. To understand how it actually works, how it moves inside a life, you have to see the mechanisms it uses to stay hidden. The shadow operates through a complex web of psychological defenses, each designed to protect us from facing our darker selves. One such mechanism is repression, which involves pushing uncomfortable thoughts and feelings into the unconscious. Another defense is projection, where we attribute our own negative qualities or desires onto others, effectively externalizing them. Think about how quickly you might label someone as selfish or manipulative when they don't meet your needs. It's often easier to see these traits in others than to acknowledge similar tendencies within yourself. This dance of denial and deflection is not just a personal struggle, but also a societal one. Throughout history, cultures have constructed elaborate systems of morality, law, and religion to manage the shadow side of human nature. Ancient Greek tragedies like Oedipus Rex explore how heroes fall from grace when they fail to confront their hidden flaws. Similarly, religious doctrines often warn against pride, lust, and other vices as pathways to moral ruin. These narratives serve both cautionary and cathartic roles by allowing us to grapple with our darker sides vicariously through myths and stories. How then do we begin the arduous journey of bringing light into the darkness. In many ways, diving into the shadow is akin to peeling back layers of an onion. Each layer reveals something more intimate, but also potentially painful. Yet, as we peel these layers away, we uncover parts of ourselves that are longing for expression and integration. This process isn't about eradicating the darkness. Rather, it's about balancing light and dark to form a fuller, truer picture of who we are. Imagine standing before a mirror again, this time holding another one in your hand. As you look at yourself, use that second mirror to catch glimpses of what lies beneath the surface reflections. You might start seeing cracks and imperfections where once there were only smooth edges. Embrace these nuances as they offer pathways towards self-understanding and transformation. Confronting our shadows isn't just a psychological imperative, but also a moral one. By integrating both light and dark aspects of ourselves, we move closer to authenticity and wholeness, qualities essential for living fully and compassionately in the world. Projection is one such mechanism, a process where what we can't face in ourselves becomes vividly apparent in the people around us. Picture this: you're at work, and there's that colleague who drives you up the wall. Notice what specifically about them annoys you. That very trait is usually a disowned part of yourself. Projection operates in this way. By seeing unwanted traits in others, we avoid the discomfort and responsibility of facing them within ourselves. This dynamic isn't just frustrating, it can also be harmful, leading to misunderstandings and strained relationships. And here is what's strange. Even as you berate someone for their behavior, your psyche might be quietly telling you something about yourself. Consider the person who always feels let down by their partner's lack of commitment, but struggles with making long-term commitments themselves. They see the same pattern repeated through different people and situations, each time reinforcing a deeper truth they've yet to acknowledge. Another mechanism at work here is compensation, how the psyche balances what consciousness refuses to integrate directly. Imagine a child who's always told to be good and never allowed to express anger or frustration. As an adult, this person might become overly compliant on the surface, but harbor secret rebelliousness or chaos underneath. The quiet rebel in a seemingly orderly world, or the perfectionist with the secret mess, illustrates how these hidden aspects emerge in less obvious ways. Compensation operates through subtle shifts and behaviors that balance out unaddressed needs and emotions. For example, a person who appears overly passive at work might suddenly become incredibly assertive in their personal life, balancing their inner turmoil through different arenas of existence. And here is another intriguing aspect. Repetition compulsion is yet another mechanism at play in the dynamics we explore. It's the phenomenon where individuals keep returning to similar situations or patterns despite consciously wanting to break them. Imagine you've broken the pattern 3 times, ending up in the same living room with a different person saying the same things. Why does this happen? It's not just stubbornness or reliving pain for its own sake. Instead, it's often driven by the need to understand and heal through repeated experience. Each iteration offers a new opportunity for insight, growth, and transformation. And here's another intriguing aspect. Repetition compulsion can sometimes feel like a Sisyphean task, endlessly pushing the boulder up the hill only to have it roll back down. Consider, too, that repetition compulsion can manifest through daily habits rather than just significant events or relationships. For instance, you might find yourself constantly cleaning your workspace meticulously before important meetings. This could be more than just a comforting routine. It may indicate an underlying anxiety about control and order in your professional life. By recognizing such patterns, we begin to see that each act, whether conscious or unconscious, carries layers of psychological meaning. So why is it so hard for us to break these cycles? One reason lies in the way our psyche protects itself from pain and discomfort. Just as a person might repeatedly brush their hand against a sharp corner without realizing they're doing it, we sometimes repeat actions that cause distress because they serve an unconscious protective function. This creates a paradox. We seek comfort through familiar pain, but also yearn for release from it. Reflect on this for a moment. How many times have you found yourself in situations where you feel both drawn to someone or something yet repelled by them at the same time? This ambivalence is often rooted in unresolved conflicts within ourselves, conflicts that our psyche attempts to reconcile through these patterns. By understanding this dynamic, we can start to navigate these complex emotional landscapes more effectively, moving towards healthier integration rather than perpetual struggle. This process is akin to deciphering an ancient text or unlocking a long-lost code within yourself. It's here that we find the power to transform not just our behaviors, but also our internal landscapes, leading us towards deeper understanding and growth. Another critical step is recognizing the distinction between external criticism and internal self-talk. Often, what we perceive as an external judgment is actually a reflection of our inner dialogue, amplified through fear or lack of confidence. Consider this: when you receive feedback at work, do you immediately feel defensive, thinking it's personal? Or are you more likely to feel reassured by positive remarks about your work? This dichotomy points towards unresolved issues around acceptance and self-worth. A deeper dive might reveal that these reactions stem from a childhood where validation was scarce or conditional. By identifying such patterns, we can begin to dismantle the barriers between our true potential and the criticisms we hold ourselves accountable for. To further this exploration, think about how you respond when faced with your strengths. Do compliments feel hollow or even provoke discomfort? Perhaps there's an unacknowledged fear of success or a belief that you don't deserve praise. This mechanism is known as self-handicapping, a protective measure to avoid the vulnerability associated with achievement. It serves as a shield against potential disappointment and failure, reinforcing the notion that it's safer not to try than risk falling short. However, this defense mechanism can also prevent growth and fulfillment. A powerful tool in navigating these challenges is the concept of self-compassion. Self-compassion involves treating yourself with kindness during times of suffering rather than harshly criticizing your failures or inadequacies. It's about recognizing that everyone struggles, making space for imperfection, and acknowledging your own humanity. When you face a setback or are overwhelmed by negative self-talk, try framing it as an opportunity to practice self-compassion. This shift in perspective can gradually rewire your brain's response patterns, fostering resilience and emotional well-being. Another valuable approach is journaling, writing down thoughts and feelings without judgment or censorship. This practice allows you to externalize inner turmoil onto paper, making it easier to analyze and process. Over time, patterns may emerge that weren't immediately apparent. For example, if you notice recurring themes about feeling unworthy or inadequate, you might start to see how these beliefs influence your interactions and decision-making processes. Journaling enables deeper introspection and self-awareness, crucial steps towards healing and growth. Ultimately, the journey of unraveling trauma bonding and overcoming internal criticism is a marathon, not a sprint. It requires patience, persistence, and willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. By embracing this process, you begin to break free from the shadows cast by past traumas and forge a path toward authentic self-acceptance and empowerment. So where do you begin? You start by meeting the parts of yourself that have felt hidden, shadowy, or too painful to confront. The goal isn't to fix, banish, or destroy what we've been looking at. It's simply to meet it with a gentle awareness. What you refuse to integrate will run your life from the basement. What you meet consciously becomes part of you and loses its power over you. Why do we resist meeting the darker aspects of our psyche with compassion? Perhaps because they remind us too much of past pain or failure. But what if those very experiences are calling us to a deeper level of awareness and growth? Picture a river flowing through rugged terrain, carving out valleys where once stood solid rock. Our shadow aspects are like that water, shaping who we become by the paths it takes. One practical way to engage with this idea is during conversations when you feel defensive or irritated. Notice how your body signals discomfort, tight shoulders, quick breaths, and pause for a moment before responding. What's trying to be said beneath those reactions? Perhaps there's an unmet need or fear that needs addressing rather than hiding behind defensiveness. Another approach is through storytelling. When you recount a challenging experience, try telling it from the perspective of someone observing your journey with curiosity and care. How does this shift in viewpoint change how you feel about what happened? It's like transforming a battlefield into a garden. Each plot once hostile now holds potential for blooming. Consider, too, the historical figures who have faced profound psychological struggles, yet used them as catalysts for incredible achievements. Think of artists like Van Gogh or writers like Sylvia Plath. Their work often reflected their inner turmoil, giving voice to complex emotions and helping others see beauty even in darkness. We can draw inspiration from such figures by acknowledging our own battles and finding ways to channel them into creative endeavors. Ultimately, this journey isn't about erasing the past, but embracing it with new eyes. Each time you confront a shadow aspect, whether through journaling, mindful pauses, or supportive conversations, you strengthen your ability to navigate life's challenges more gracefully. You learn to walk among both light and shadows, finding wisdom in every step along the way. As you continue this work, remember that growth isn't linear. It often involves circling back on yourself repeatedly. There may be days when progress seems stalled or even regressed, but each return to familiar patterns is an opportunity for deeper understanding. Think of it as peeling back layers of an onion, revealing new insights with every layer exposed. So the next time you feel a surge of old emotions or notice yourself slipping into a habitual pattern, take a moment to breathe deeply and ask, "What's here that wants to be seen?" This simple question can shift your perspective from struggling against internal forces to partnering with them in self-discovery. By doing so, you not only heal past wounds, but also create space for new growth and fulfillment. The unconscious will run your life until you stop running from it, and the moment you turn toward it, the real life begins.